I was very impressed with Daniel Carey and how calm he was against Gaston Bolanos. And, we talked before, you and I had talked about, and I said, look, Carey's got to wrestle him. If he thinks he's going to stand there and brawl with him, he's going to get into trouble. And I was right, but he did it in a really bright way, really smart way. And that when he grabbed hold of that neck, he knew, I'm not letting go of this thing. Yeah. You got to give it to Bolanos. He went out, but that was tight, and you could see when it tightened up. And really a big win for Daniel Carey. Show on, man. You know what? He's getting better as a fighter. I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more out of Gaston's submission defense. Just that I expected more. Honestly, I did.
Well, sometimes you get the idea because you've been in practice, and someone grabs your neck and you just tuck down and you just sit there and you're safe. As you know, and as you say, fight speed is different. Fight squeeze is different. Everything's different.
Yeah.
And you think you're safe and you're not. And as soon as he pushed down and then jumped, and when his legs wrapped, that's a lot of pressure, man. He's got a lot of strength now engaged with those legs to put it. You can see him looking over at his corner like, oh, yeah, I got it. Because, you know when you feel it, it's hard. When you're looking at it, you can think, it's not too good, or, it's really good. But when you feel it, because you're the guy pulling on it, you know when your arm is into that neck, and you know when you've got that hold. Yeah,
the one thing that made me believe that he potentially could win this fight when we did the fighter interviews was he said he's going to make it an MMA fight. It was going to be an MMA.
Yeah, he said this is not going to be a kickboxing match.
It's not going to be a kickboxing match. And that made me feel more comfortable because the stuff he said in the rest of the interview, I was like, you sound ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
But when he said that made me believe, okay, he's got a chance. If he tried to make it a kickboxing match, he would have got smoked. Would have been done. I thought he was going to wrestle a little bit more. Didn't, but he did exactly what he needed to do.
But as soon as he did, once the hands touched and we're holding on to him, it was over.
Yeah.
So his wrestling was exactly what it should have been.
Yeah, I guess because I know Gaston's jiu-jitsu coach, Darren, how do you say his last name? Iyama?
Oyeniyama.
Oyeniyama. I'm going to believe you. And then, and I love Darren. Actually, we
he's
know
great.
each other really well.
And he's a phenomenal coach.
I always call him Darren, never say his last name.
Makes you a smart man.
Yeah, I expected, I think, a little bit more. I expected a little bit better defense. And I understand. We did talk, because we were talking about practice. Like Allen Iverson said, we talking about practice right now? Really? We talking about practice? The bottom line is there's a different squeeze, there's a different pace. Everything is different in a real fight.
Yep.
You can't mimic that in training and practice.
No,
there's
hard.
no way of doing that. And the other thing too is that what you think you're used to getting out of in training, the guy that you're training against or fighting against, that may be his go-to move.
Yeah.
And so he has different ways of setting it up. He has different ways of knowing when it's in, and he knows when to apply the pressure. But when you're in training, those guys don't always have the same move.
No.
You know what I mean? So like when Khabib was getting ready for Tony Ferguson, I was trying to hit darces on him all the time.
Which time?
Yeah, exactly. All 5 times, by the way. All 5 times. I think it was the second time, and we were working a lot on that. And I was setting up the darces, and all I was doing was trying to hit it from all different ways. I noticed that I was hitting that thing from everywhere by the end of the camp.
Yeah, you can get good at it.
Yeah, so then I got better at that, but then his defense got better. But in the beginning, my darce wasn't the same way that Tony would have done it. So if he thought he was going to work on it for like 2 or 3 weeks, Tony would hit that thing from his knees. It's so hard to do that.
Yeah.
You know that. You got to turn an angle and create an angle to make it tight. And I didn't have the length and the reach to do that on Khabib because it's so broad shoulder. But Tony does. Different body types, different styles.
Tony's got very long arms.
Yes.
Tony used to work out at my gym, and he is always crazy as far as just his work ethic was nuts. The intensity that he trained with was nuts. He's got one gear, man, and it's all out.
But I think also too, when you're having fun and it's the all out gear, it doesn't hurt. You don't get as tired.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt him, but everybody that was training with him, they hated him.
I would imagine. But I mean, I think that's also what got him to the level that he's at.
It is exactly what got him to the level he's at.
I think this is a good win for Daniel Carey.
Big win.
Good step in the right direction.
Big win.
But what also made me feel good about him when he sat down in the interviews is he said, I know you guys brought me here to lose. And I was like, and I think you said it. I didn't bring you here. Like, I'm not the one that arranged this fight. Yeah. But it's true. Like I think he didn't come there to lose. He wanted to make sure that he wasn't a stepping stone for anyone. Yeah. And he came out and he fought a very smart fight. He was able to get on the front headlock. It looked like he tried to snap him down, couldn't get him down. So then when Gaston pulled back, that helped him jump to guard and wrap the legs. I thought it was a great performance by him. So Gaston's got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out.
This is part of it. Hey, this is where I would talk about and my whole thing with Gaston is you've got to decide.
Yeah.
You cannot be the 3-sport combat athlete.
Yeah.
You can't be a Muay Thai fighter and a kickboxer and an MMA fighter and be successful at the highest level and all. It just doesn't work. You're going to have to pick something and commit to it.
Yeah. I mean, that's I feel like Joe Schilling, same thing.
Yep.
And when Joe finally said, look, I'm just going to do
that's
MMA.
I'm MMA. Then, I go, oh, there you go. Yep. Now he's going to be dangerous.
Yep. It's just going to take some time because you can only just learn the jiu-jitsu game overnight.
No.
All
right. First round, featherweight. We had a difference in Taiwan Claxton was the guy that you had picked over Emanuel. And I was kind of surprised by that.
Did I pick? No, that was Jay.
Oh, no. You when we talked, you said, I think Taiwan's got a good shot.
He does have a good shot. I did think he had a good shot, yes.
And I just looked at Emanuel Sanchez as the guy. Look at, I just said it again. He's so good.
Look at.
Exactly. That's my go-to.
Yep.
But he is so good everywhere.
Yeah.
And he is the complete fighter. Man, he brings up pressure. And you could see I was very impressed with what Taiwan was doing at the start of the fight. He got him down. Even when he got him down, he tried to posture, which was beautiful. He's posturing up, trying to land shots that are going to damage him, that's going to slow him down. But you can see as that, he gets up and the fight goes on and that pressure starts to build. And you can see that now that Taiwan is not the guy in control of that pace of the fight. He's got someone pushing him and making him work. It just systematically started to get to him, and it was the experience. Yep. That lack of experience at 5-0, not that, he's not an incredible athlete, great, super fast, but just the entire atmosphere, that size of fight against a guy with that kind of experience, it just all eventually became a tidal wave that drowned him.
Yeah, even though Emanuel Sanchez isn't throwing anything, he's just walking you down.
Yeah.
And when that pressure happens with an inexperienced fighter, it's only 5-0. I'm not saying he's not good. He's not maybe potentially
he's outstanding.
The future. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's going to learn a big lesson from this.
Yep.
In the fact that, do you remember when we talked about Matt Mitrione, or we met with Matt for his last fight against Karatanov? He had talked about what he did wrong against Big Country.
Yeah.
He punched and he ran. He made himself tired, and then ended up,
getting taken down and almost
losing
that fight.
So when that happened, that's exactly, I felt like what Taiwan was doing towards the end of the first round and into the second round. He started sticking and moving, but he was like sticking and running. That makes you more tired.
Yep.
You have to learn how to fight in the pocket, but be a defensive fighter as well. Cut angles so you're not getting struck. I'll use GSP and Carlos Condit instead of using me, because I took the game plan from them. Is with Nate. Nate did that, and Nick did the same thing with GSP and them. Like they learned boom boom, cut the angle, and then go to the other side of the cage, make that person come to you. And Claxton didn't do that.
No.
Claxton punched, went 2 feet to the right, and then Sanchez just shifted his feet. And boom, cut him off.
Yeah.
And when you cut him off, it's like, oh, I got to fight again already.
Exactly.
Instead of punching and stepping in, so you're covering the distance.
And making him reset and move off.
Yep. If he could have cut the corner, went to the other side of the cage, made him come, that would have given you a second to get your breath.
Yeah.
And it would also given you a second to kind of reset. And then he would have had to slowly, gradually walk into your box.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, they're not used to fighting in that type of situation is. Fighting is done in little increments of, I give some energy, I relax. I give some energy, I relax. And you could see there was a certain point in the fight, Taiwan couldn't relax.
No.
And it was just a steady press on that accelerator that was just starting to diminish that tank.
Yeah, because every time he wasn't throwing punches, he was running. And when he wasn't running, he was throwing punches. Yeah. You've got to have a second where you can go, you got to be able to sit, take a deep breath real quick. Okay, let's fight. And he never had that moment when Sanchez was pushing the pace, he was still trying to move around. He never sat there for a second and went, okay, he's coming to me, get my breath, take my time, set up my strikes. Like, when Sanchez walks forward, when I see someone settle in, it's like, okay, I got to approach with caution. If I see you still moving, I don't need to approach with too much caution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know you're not set, so there's not as much power on the things that you do when you're not set. Yeah. You're still moving and punching or kicking at the same time you're moving. It takes away that power.
It does.
So I thought the reason I think when you and I were talking about this fight, I said I could see an upset because it was only a 3-round fight.
Yeah.
I think Sanchez said it best in the fighter interviews. In a 5-round fight, all these guys better be afraid. Because if he fights at that pace for 5 rounds, which we saw with Patricio, it's nasty. Yeah. It's nasty. So if you are not relaxed, he's the guy. If I was him, I'd be selecting all the young bucks.
Oh, see it? All right, let's go to this because our next fight was Pedro Carvalho versus Sam Sicilia, and Pedro did exactly what you and I both thought he would do. Mm-hmm. Is he'll take some shots and he's just going to systematically start breaking Sam down. Yeah. Gets the submission. Gets a beautiful face crank on him. He was trying to set up this neck crank here, and he almost had it at a certain point. But I want to see, and I know we don't have a bracket there, and we know we got that thing, but there's 2 guys I want to see: Emanuel Sanchez against Pedro Carvalho
in a 5-round fight.
Oh, is that going to be a fight?
Yep. Because Sam Sicilia was dominating the fight for the first round. Then you could tell he started getting tired. He was just muscling him around, throwing Pedro Carvalho down,
throwing hard shots.
Just I wouldn't say wasting energy because it was effective. Yeah. But then you can't do that for the full 3 rounds. It's hard to keep that pace. You needed to control the position. He never was able to do that. And you could credit Pedro Carvalho for never settling on bottom, always trying to work stuff. There was moments where he was in trouble. Yeah. It looked like Sicilia had his back. Had moments where he was on top, almost like in full mount.
Yeah, and at that point, when Sam had his back, it was look at the calmness. Look at I'm okay. I know where I'm at. I'm going to hold my arm here. I'm going to put
wrist control.
You saw exactly. It's okay, and that's what's showing for a guy that's 24 years old. He looks older. Let's just be honest, man. Okay, Pedro, you're gonna lose your hair, dude. Just get rid of it now. Yeah. It's okay. Keep
lost
the beard.
The battle.
Keep the beard. The solar panel has already began. Yeah. But man, he can fight, and for a young guy, he is skilled. He has got some talent.
Yeah, he looks younger there.
Yeah, there he does. Yeah.
He must have been 14.
That's because exactly he's 15 years of age there. But I was thinking about matchups, and either Emanuel Sanchez against Pedro or Adam Borch and Emanuel.
Interesting.
Either one, I look and go, man, that's a fight. That is one. Yeah. That's going to prove exactly who's the guy, because Borch does a really good job of controlling the pace stuff. I think Pedro is actually the guy that has a more well-rounded game. He may not be as athletic as Borch, but he's got an incredibly well-rounded game. His stand-up is solid. His wrestling is good. His submission game we know is outstanding. He kicks well. He kicks at the right time. He hides his kicks behind his hands. He goes to the body well. He does all those things, but then Sanchez is just a monster, in my opinion.
See, for me, I feel like Sanchez's pace, and the same thing with Pedro Carvalho, his pace also, from what I've seen so far of him, is I think both those guys, if Darrion Caldwell gets past the first round, I'd be selecting him. For someone who doesn't seem to have a gas tank past the 3rd round, I would push on someone that potentially...
Oh, you're saying if you were the guy making that pick, you're going to look at Darrion Caldwell and say, I got a guy that I can get tired.
Yeah, exactly. Like, those are the things, and even though he's coming up in weight, I don't think it's going to be that much of a factor, because that pace, Darrion, we've said this before, guys that are explosive, like Darrion Caldwell, and he's had these issues since he wrestled in college, okay, is that he is... somebody that
fast muscle fiber athlete.
Exactly.
You can't be a sprinter and a marathon runner.
Nope.
You're going to be one or the other.
Yep.
And you've got to live with that, but you got to figure out if you're going to be that sprinter because you have that kind of, just body chemistry, you have always got to be in control of the pace.
Yeah. And to touch back on Claxton, Darrion Caldwell reminds me a lot of Claxton. He's constantly moving, throwing 1-2 big strikes, but Claxton is younger, 5-0. Darian doesn't have excuses anymore. He's the former champion. You know, like he's coming up in weight. That was his excuse. He was cutting too much weight. Sure, he's big for the weight.
Yeah.
But there's no excuse anymore. You're now going up in your weight
Not
class.
at 145.
Yeah, not at 145. So you shouldn't be gassing out. I still think he's going to because of his fast twitch muscle fiber. I think that his explosiveness, you know, his inexperience he reminds me a lot of Mike Van Arsdale. Ooh. Somebody who is very talented, can wrestle like the Dickens, okay? But then when it comes down to it, just always gets tired because he's so fast twitch, so explosive. Doesn't know how to settle in positions sometimes. He just holds you there using all of his strength, or he moves around so much, which creates space for you or for you to get up and he's got to work hard again.
Good comparison with
Van
Arsdale.
Yeah.
Man, he was a hell of a wrestler.
God, he was phenomenal. I trained with him for years because all of his MMA fights were at AK.
Yeah.
So he was at our gym the whole time, man. He, man, the fucking best storyteller I've ever been around was Mike Van Arsdale. Yes, the best. Unbelievable. So if I was looking on the other side of the brackets, which they're not really brackets, but the other side of the guys that are fighting, and I'd be trying to plot, because I talked to Campos last night, and he was like, you know, who should I take next? And I said,
he asked you.
Yeah, I said, I can't tell you that, but I said, you know, you had the right fight for you to get back on track, and he had the right fight because you're beatable. I said, I want to let you know that. Like, he was 100. They looked based off of your fight with Carvalho and your other two fights before that where you were in a slump, and they thought, look, this is a good opportunity for Strauss to continue his story, and it's a good opportunity for you to get back on track being a
against a guy that's got a name. And there's,
yep.
Yeah.
I said, so I can't tell you who to take next, you know, so because you got to see who the next bracket is, who ends up being in that other group of guys. So, but yeah, he did ask. You know, and I just told him and his coaches, I'm like, I'm not putting my name in that hat, buddy. But I wish the best for you.
And when you look and you go, and you could give him the advice, you could give him, you know, what you believe, and it could be he doesn't even get that choice based upon where he gets that pick. So that's the thing that's so cool.
I got a little concerned because I gave him the advice about quitting his job after his last fight, and he did that.
Yeah,
so I got a little concerned.
That was the right advice, man. And I said it before. I don't care, and I don't care what sport it is. If you're gonna fight or you're gonna play any sport at the highest level, you have got to be 100% in. You cannot be 50%.
Yeah.
You can't be 70%. You got to be 100%. And if you're not, then you're not putting yourself in the best position to be successful.
Well, this sport more than anything, because like we talked about, I talked about this last night on the show, is we're in the hurt business.
Yep.
We're not. This is not.
You don't
slapping
play
a puck
fighting,
around.
man.
Yeah, you're not slapping a puck around or catching a football. Okay, you're fucking hurting people, and when that happens, that becomes an issue.
Or they're trying to hurt you.
Yeah, they're trying to hurt you, and then that's the main thing. Is like you got to be either all the way in or all the way out. Okay, this is not something like I said. You have the rest of your life to go pull still, is what I told him. You know, do whatever. You have the rest of your life to go do that job. Okay, this period and this window for you to be a professional athlete and be one of the best is so short. You don't understand. I was blessed enough to do it for 21 years. But that was because I spent so much time in the gym just trying to recreate myself every time. When things grew, right? Because I went through the phases where, remember when everyone was just take them down against the fence?
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like you take guys down against the fence, they're just right back up. It's like, okay, now you got to take them out in the middle. Okay, like people stopped wrestling in the open mat, had to make that adjustment. Okay, ankle locks used to be popular when I first started. Now they're like, they weren't. They went away. Now they're coming back. The game it evolves.
Well,
if you don't
absolutely.
keep up with it, if you don't keep up with it, you'll be left in the dust.
Well, and it's the whole point of it, when you look at it. It's when you have, that was not what I was saying. I said look at it. Thank you very much. When you do look at it, though, if your opponent in fighting is training more than you, is putting in more time, is putting in that extra bit for their cardio, is putting in just a little bit more into technique, these are all little steps above that you've got to now overcome. If you're being outworked before the fight, there's a good chance you're going to be worked on during it.
Yeah, I have no doubts about that. I think that's what makes certain guys so good.
It's what makes Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
Just talking about him. That's what makes Tony Ferguson so dangerous.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like Patricio, same thing.
Same
like
thing.
For me, I feel like it's Patricio. He could tell he's just someone that's just in the gym all the time,
and he works at getting better.
And I feel the same way about Benson Henderson. Benson's one of those guys. He's just constant. If he's not in the gym training for himself, he's in there helping his guys.
Yeah.
And that's just true leadership. And I think I've always been intrigued with him and the respect that his guys have for him at his gym and the way they talk about him. And like Henry Krause is like, dude, he's just an all around great guy.
Yeah.
And that says a lot. I think when you have guys that are always working hard in the gym, when you go to fight them, they're gonna be a problem. Because they don't, like with Ben, when I fought him, he never got tired. I was like, you little shit. Like I was usually the guy like pushing the pace on guys, and I could tell he wasn't getting tired. He just fights a really conservative style of fighting,
especially in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slow starter.
Starts off slow.
Yep.
Lets it build. He never overextends in the fight. And that's part of that's what Miles Jury coming up. You've got to understand the style that Benson Henderson brings, and
what was that again? Look it. Go ahead.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
It's a matter of Benson he's the guy that built it. Adam Piccolotti kind of got that, and I was very impressed with Adam in his win last night. But Adam Piccolotti got into Benson and was doing great work, and then realized this guy's he's continuing to build. As it got into the second round, it was like, oh man, I've got to regroup here into that third. So Benson Henderson up here, incredibly smart.
Oh.
Down here, phenomenal athlete.
Yes.
And dude, he's got heavy leg kicks.
He's got heavy leg kicks, but what really impressed me, honestly, there was a couple moments in there where I had like caught his leg and I went to lift and elevate it. He's extremely flexible.
Yeah.
He's hopping around, got great balance, got Flintstone feet. So he's got
He have Flintstone.
He's able to like he has a good base. You're not just tripping him, he's tripping over his ankle or his toes. No, he's got a good balance and he's flexible. Man. He's a full package. Yeah. He truly is. And I enjoy watching him and seeing all those things, everything he does, and growing. So,
I've only seen one guy overrun Benson, and that was when he fought Koreshkov, and I thought the size difference just caused him a huge discrepancy in that fight. But
that's because he was having so much success against the UFC guys at 170, so he believed in himself that he could be able to get it done when he came over to Bellator, and he was like, "Hey, give me a huge mistake."
Oh yeah, and I've talked to him about that fight. He goes, "Man." He goes, that guy was just a beast. And, I give it to Benson for going 5 rounds in it because he was taking some shots. When you're in there, as a referee, most of the time it's like, and every now and then a guy will get hit and you go, oh. Yeah. You can feel it, how hard it hits him. You hear it. You hear the sound coming out of the fighter, and you go, God dang it, that had to hurt, man. That was bad. Man, Benson had some big shots in that, but Borch against Curran.
Yep.
You got to be impressed with Adam Borch, man.
I am impressed with him,
but don't do it.
I'm impressed with him. But remember when we talked the other day? I think I think we didn't talk about it on the show. But we talked about it during the fight week. The first round was what I was afraid of, not just for this fight.
You called the first round.
Yeah, but not just for all. Like I was talking about for a lot of these guys. There's so much on the line, and I was afraid we were going to get more of like first rounds like that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't.
No, we didn't. We had some great fights.
There's just so much involved and so much at stake for these guys. This opportunity for them to really just put money away and send their kids to school.
Yeah.
And so that to me was a first round. I was like, gosh. You got to pull the trigger. Yeah. Like you don't want to be. I know in a 5-round fight it's different. We're not really pushing the action because 5 rounds. You got a long ways to go.
A long ways.
So time. I get that. But this is one of those things. Like I would have liked to have seen him use his youth a little bit more in that first round.
See, I give him credit in the fact he looked at it. He's facing a very, very experienced, cagey veteran, a guy that's dangerous, a guy that's hard to hurt, and I really appreciated that he was taking his time. He was picking his shots, especially the low calf kick. And I talked about it during the fight. Hey, that kick's starting to have an effect. You can see it. Look at the damage on his leg. Look at the way he's taking steps.
Yeah.
And it was that low calf kick that started the downfall of Pat Curran in this fight. The knee connected, but it was more of a weight and pushover.
Yeah.
But when his opportunity came, look at him open up. Look at him go after it. He's not just sitting there saying, oh, I'll just try to close this round out and win. I'm going after you to finish you. And man,
yeah, I think we need to make sure everyone understands. Pat Curran broke his leg.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason.
How did he break his leg?
Well, obviously from the kicks.
Boom.
But I'm saying though.
So who broke his leg? Borch broke his leg.
That fucking ref, man. I tell you, sometimes he just gets in the way. No, I thought great leg kicks. I've also said this numerous times, is that the calf kick is changing the game.
Oh.
Guys that can do it fast, and the jeopardy of your foot being caught is less likely because you're kicking so low.
So low.
And it's going to be so fast. It's meant to be a fast kick that just does a ton of damage really fast without really a whole lot of risk of getting taken down.
That's the best part. It is the risk factor in throwing that calf kick that makes it so appealing, because the worst thing that can happen for you is you hit the wrong spot and you kind of damage your lower leg while you're damaging your opponent's also.
No, I agree.
That's where your risk. But if you hit it to the outside normally where it should, you're damaging him and not damaging yourself, and it's effective. It makes it difficult to feel your leg if you're the guy getting hit, because it starts to be where you can't feel when your foot's touching.
Yeah, because when guys or girls try to catch that low-level calf kick, what that does, that opens up the head kick next. So when I used to do it is I would wait for them to start trying to reach down and try and stop it, but the majority of the time they wouldn't. But if they did, then I would eventually try to come up top to the head kick, at least to the body or the head, because they dip down to try and catch that leg. But yeah, it just changes the game. I mean, I don't know if you recall, but a friend of mine, Justin Wilcox, had fought in Bellator, and he got hit.
Yeah,
I can't remember the guy's name.
I can.
Sniper. Oh man, I don't even know how Justin couldn't. I swear he came 4 months later, still could not be kicked or couldn't be no pressure on his leg when we were grappling. Yeah. He wore a pad over it for 4 or 5 months. After that, he couldn't still use that leg.
Yeah, the sniper Stepanian, he just lit his leg up.
Yeah.
So this one?
Yeah.
That's it.
He reminds me of, what's his name? Artem Lobov.
Stepanian?
Yeah. The look of him, that's all. I don't know the way they
so
fight.
Much faster than Lobov.
Yeah.
Maybe doesn't have quite the power in his hands, but his kicks are so good, and he's so good. His spinning, he reminds me of a smaller version of Koreshkov. He is very fast. He's got very technical stand-up, and man, he just moves really well. He just doesn't have the grappling of a Koreshkov.
Yeah, we saw that here. He was able to try to basically drop Justin a couple times with the leg kicks, and then Justin was able to finally get on his neck.
Justin was a gorilla.
Yeah. That's why we call him the Silverback.
That dude was
just nasty.
That's what we see where I come from. He's built like a brick shit house.
Yeah,
solid.
True.
Just
true.
Crazy.
I never understood why he was one of those guys that had all the potential to do so much. Yeah. I trained with him because he was at AK.
Yeah, I remember.
And I didn't get it. I when the lights came on. Sometimes he showed it. Yeah, exactly. I know. It was all mental. Yeah. Because there was no doubt he had the ability. There was no doubt.
Physical was definitely there.
And not only that, but he also had the conditioning. And I felt like guys that have that conditioning, you should have the confidence to just push. Like Emanuel Sanchez. Just get after it. And as I got later in, long in the tooth in my career, I kind of got away from that. I used to be the guy that just try to always walk you down, just, try to not get touched as I was putting the pressure. Yeah. But as I got later into my career, I started not being as active, because Bob's like, look, every time you do something, you're dominating the fight. Just do more. You're not doing enough. Like that, when I was younger, I didn't have that problem. It was I was doing too much carelessly.
See, that when you get older, you want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
John, come a little bit closer there.
Oh, I got it.
So yeah, that was the issue. So I mean, like with him, I always knew he was in the best shape. Justin Wilcox. I always knew he had good wrestling. He just never really he never really put it all together and had the confidence to do it.
But see, and this is what you'll get a lot of guys that we talk about all the time. What happens in the gym stays in the gym.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for it. Okay? Yeah. There's a lot of reasons for it. But one of the things is, how many guys have you known, and I've known quite a few, that in the gym, they can absolutely beat any world champion there is, or they can make their life miserable. But put them under the lights when it counts with the pressure, they cannot perform at that same level, and that is a mentality, you know. And it's something that is it's harvested and it's learned and it's nurtured by everyone to a certain point. Some guys automatically have it, and some guys don't.
Let's talk about Vitor Belfort.
Oh.
Remember in the gym, everyone's talking, he's the greatest thing to slice bread. Then he put the bright lights on and just couldn't get it done all like in the big fights. Sure, he won some highlight reel stuff.
Up here, didn't believe in himself.
When he got there, I have a friend of mine I train with is Thomas Dion.
Yeah.
Phenomenal kickboxer, some of the best takedown defense I've ever seen. Get him in the MMA fight. Couldn't stop a takedown.
Yeah, guy would just
couldn't push the
put
pace.
him right down on his
back.
back.
And guys would not just take him down. Guys were like landing clean kickboxing stuff. He would stand. He's taking DC down. He's taking Luke Rockhold down. Just sparring with him, I fucking hated it. He would dismantle me. But when the lights came on, you're like, fuck, what is going on? Why are you losing to these guys?
Yeah.
And it's just all the ability, all the talent, and you don't know what it is.
Pressure, look at pressure. Pressure does the two things. It creates diamonds and it crushes rocks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just the way it is. And that's why it's everything. You know, it's that mentality that is the most important thing. I tell guys all the time, the physical is super important, but the mental is everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because the mental is, your confidence is controlled by your mental.
Absolutely.
So if your confidence isn't there, then this game's not for you.
That's it.
So I mean, Adam Borks, and then of course we'll talk Campos and Strauss.
Campos, you know, look, came out and did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Go after him, you know, be in the stand-up, throw hard, wrestle hard, put him on his back. We said, if Daniel Strauss is on his back, he's going to have problems. He doesn't fight well off of his back. Yeah. He ends up making big mistakes trying to get off of his back. Campos took I was scoring the fight, and then you could tell by the judges' scores, 2 judges gave him 2 rounds of 10-8 in this fight. Wow. That's how much he dominated the fight. And then at the end, I was like, and I asked him during the questions, 30 seconds left, you have won this fight. It is over. And he gets up a la like Max Holloway and says, come on, come down. And I go, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, I love it. And I go, and you're freaking crazy.
Yeah.
You know, all it takes is one. And Daniel has that power. He can land that one, and it's all over.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Campos on how he fought. I thought he did a great job. It was good for him to get back on the winning track. Daniel didn't look himself.
He's not.
We know he's not.
Let's just
be
honest.
But he just from the very first kick when he fell.
I think when we say we know he's not, we were talking and we thought we're not sure that he's there.
Yeah.
And then when we watched him, we knew we were right. He wasn't there.
Well, I felt like he was good for about 10 seconds, and then he threw that kick and fell. Like and the rest of the fight was done after that.
I could tell you that in his corner, when he threw the kick and then came back to his corner, he says the mat's slippery.
Oh.
And I can tell you, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I was on that mat. They do put a adhesive down on that mat, and I moved all around with bare feet. It wasn't slippery.
Interesting.
It's just you're not feeling it. You're not getting that little tactile feel of that mat, and that can happen to guys. Daniel's got some more rehab to do, get himself back. I think he's trying to fight now to he's got obviously a life to live and bills to pay like all of us, and he's trying to push it, but you could tell he was getting. I got neck problems. Yeah. And I got serious neck problems.
Well, you've got problems, but
that's mental problems. That's different. Mental problems and neck problems are completely different.
I've got one too. He's from Scotland. I got one of those too.
Dave, you're not a problem, baby. Just tell him, Mutta. It's a matter of at any moment. It's just right now. My left arm just cramped.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's from my neck, and then I'll get this firing of a stinger going down my arm. And you could see it happen to Daniel Strauss during the fight. And this is what happens when you have neck injuries. And they can pop up at any time.
Yeah, I went through a part of my career, I would say it was right around the Bobby Green fight. I had no feeling in my right arm. So I actually had to go get almost like a epidural or whatever it is, like where they shoot it into the nerve.
Yep.
And it numbed it. It was a cortisone. It wasn't called cortisone. It was something else that they shot right into the nerve, which brought the swelling down on the nerve. So then my arm came back. But it was, I can understand why when when I was there for that procedure, the very first question they ask you on the waiver is, "Are you feeling suicidal?"
Oh yeah,
because there are moments there.
I've had exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly.
There
what
was
it's like.
moments in my life during that time when my arm was that way, and it was that way for probably about 5 or 6 months. Every day it felt just tingling and just no sensation in my hands and my fingers.
Both of my thumbs.
And it was just misery, and all of a sudden you're just like, this is not how I want to live my life. I can't. I'm only, at the time I want to say I was like 36 or 37. I'm like, there's no way I'm living another 30 years with this in my fucking, it was horrible.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise I would have had surgery had that not worked. Yeah, it was miserable. It sucked. So when I see him going through, like yesterday at the end of the fight when his arm dropped and he like started doing that, and I'm thinking to myself, you need to figure it out before you get back in the cage.
Yep.
Yeah, he just needs to figure it out. The good thing is, I believe a lot of these guys got a little bit more fight money than their normal fight purses to enter into the tournament, which was great.
Yep.
So hopefully he has a little bit of a cushion now after that long layoff for him to, try and get more rehab, try to get a little bit stronger.
He talked he's moving back to Florida.
Yeah.
He's leaving, doesn't like Vegas.
No one does.
And he went to Vegas actually to work with Dr. William Smith, who's the guy who did my neck, did Tito Ortiz's neck. And I understand why he would go there for him. But, you got to be comfortable where you're at.
Yeah.
You got to be happy in your life. Hopefully, he's going to go back to Florida, get himself straight, be able to start working on getting all these problems. And those problems might not ever go away. I know mine haven't. I've had 3 surgeries and still got problems, and I'll have them. But it's exactly like you're saying. It can get so bad. Mine was so bad at a certain point, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sleep. You could ask my wife. I would get an hour of sleep. That was it.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
I could get to a certain position, and I would be in that position for 20 seconds. All of a sudden, fire, and
yeah,
that's what happens when you got neck injuries.
No, yeah. For mine, it was I could only sleep on one side, but then your body gets numb on that side, and you got to move. And when you move, it's like, okay, I can't get comfortable again. And they're like, okay, then you want to go back to that same side because that's where you got your best sleep for an hour or two. But then your ass and your hip and your arm is numb, and you're just like, this is bullshit. Yeah, and then I can see why people like that question when that struck me. The very first question was, "Are you feeling suicidal?" And I was like, wow, have you been noticing anger or depression or any of this? I was like, this is serious. This is not. I never thought about it that way until I signed that paperwork. I was like, wow. There's a lot going on when those are the top questions when you've got neck problems. But we'll see. I think Campos he's got his work cut out for him though. This tournament is filled with killers, and he's the one I think out of all of them though is that if he doesn't fight a smart fight, he's not going to get very far. He has the potential to get far, but he has got to be. I think a lot of the guys given his skid on his 3-fight losing streak and then now getting a big win. But we saw Daniel Strauss wasn't the same guy. A lot of these guys might be starting to kind of like look to aim and see who they're going to take next.
Look, let's be honest. If you're Derek Campos, most of these guys in the tournament looking and going, that's the fight I want. He's more one-dimensional through a lot of his fights than other guys.
Yeah.
He showed some dimensions with his fight with Strauss, but again, I think Strauss is a diminished fighter right now as far as his abilities. And, that's part of the gamesmanship that we're going to see in Los Angeles, when these guys start to put their names on that board. It's a matter of when do you want to fight? How do you feel coming off of, if you're one of the 4 winners here, am I injured in any fashion? Well, if I'm injured, I might want to, if I get one of those early things, I might want to put my name in a bracket that's down a ways away so I can get through my injury because I got to fight. That's just the way it is. Or I'm pulling out of this tournament, which means I'm not going to get, the ability to get the championship or that $1 million. Or is it that I want to fight early so I can get more rest for the next round? There's so many things that guys are going to have to actually think about. And then on top of that, who's in that bracket? Do I want to face that guy, or would I rather have this guy and have these 2 guys cancel one or the other out, and I'll take the winner of that if I can. depending upon where that bracket is. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to it.
There is a lot to it because, like we were talking about with Sanchez. Sanchez, I feel like needs to fight one of the young guys and do exactly what he did to Claxton, push the pace, make them break in a 5-round fight, and I think he's gonna have a ton of success. And like he said in the fighter meetings, he's like these guys don't want me to get to the 5-round fights.
Wow.
He's like, because I'm the guy that everyone should be afraid of. And I said that. It's funny. Remember when he sat down, he's like, I have a bone to pick with you, and I was like, wait a second, I think you misunderstood.
Yeah.
I said it really is his tournament to lose. I could see him and Patricio being in the finals again.
Yeah, well, he took you said that line.
Yeah.
It's Emanuel Sanchez's tournament to lose, and he took it like you meant that. Oh, he's going to lose.
Yeah, no.
And it was like, no, he's saying that
Only
you're
can lose
in
it.
control of your destiny in this tournament. You're the one. You either perform and win, or you're going to not perform and lose, based upon not being that guy that night that you can be.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we can just jump right into the controversy of
Controversy.
Bader and Kongo.
Oh man, yeah. Let's talk about that one because
Was it in the nose or was it in the eye?
someone
Someone said it was in the nose. I didn't see it. Some of it went
during the commentary. I said, man, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see and I asked referee Mike Beltran. I said, hey, he goes, no, John, I saw it go in his eye. I said, okay, and so that's what I'm buying. But I never saw it, and I was like, what? I don't get it. But Kongo is saying it went in his eye. Bader, this is what I got out of the fight, as flat out as it can be. Bader is at a different level than Chet Kongo. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
He's too fast for him. He hits hard. He's just as strong as him. And he can bring a pace and put Kongo in places that he is not comfortable.
Yeah.
And not saying that Kongo, didn't get poked in the eye. Maybe he did. That's why the fight ended. But when you there again, it comes down to that mindset, Josh. And that mindset is, am I a fighter? If I want to fight, then I take the 5 minutes that I can get in saying, let me try to clear my eye. Let me try to clear my eye. Okay. Instead, right away, I can't see. That's telling me I'm not really happy with where I'm at.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to like try to side with him, but I can't. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. The bottom line is you've been fighting long enough to know the last things you say to the doctor when he comes in is, I can't see.
Absolutely.
Just say like, hey, it's clearing up.
Give
It's
me a
little,
second.
Yeah, it's a little blurry. But let
it's
me.
a little
give me
blurry.
Yeah,
That's all you got to say.
it's clearing up. I'm able to see. Just give me a second.
Yep.
That's
and they're going to give it to you.
yeah. If you first words out of your mouth are, I can't see.
You just asked to get out of the
Yeah,
fight.
you're basically saying like you don't want to fight.
Exactly.
So, and it wasn't as if like he's had 4 or 5 fights. Okay, he's fought a lot of the best guys. He's been in there. He knew exactly what he was doing.
It's a 40-some fight veteran.
Yeah.
And then look at all the fights on top of it that were in MMA.
Yeah.
It's and sometimes, this right here, and this is what I talked about with Peter. Look at the leg underneath Kongo's leg, lacing it, keeping it up off of the ground so he cannot get up. And people think, oh, just pull your leg out. You can't do that. It just doesn't work that way.
Can you zoom in on that?
I don't think I can. There you go. It's up his nose. It's right up his
Yeah,
nostril.
yeah, but keep going. I think there's a little bit more. Maybe go back.
You got to go back because you could tell by his reaction he's saying it already happened.
So
Now it's going to be way past that.
it's right here-ish.
Because he throws an uppercut, and I was wondering, well, was it the uppercut that hits him in the eye right there?
Yeah.
And you can't tell.
Could have been the punch.
I see his thumb right there.
Oh, that's in the nose.
Yeah. There's one little part. Let me see. Let me zoom out real quick. There's one little part like.
And you can't see right there because his hand's covering Bader's hand. It's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
So right here when it fades to the next shot, there's like a slight kind of graze maybe right there.
Maybe that little thumb hand came up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's really like it's hard right here. It could have happened, but it's really hard to see. It's in the nose there, for sure. And now he grabs his eye. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to agree with you though. There's a couple things as fighters we know. Those are not the words you say when the doctor comes.
Well,
in.
and look, it could be that you did get poked in the eye, and that it's bad. But give yourself every opportunity if you want to be this guy that's going to be, in this heavyweight championship fight. Give yourself every opportunity to see if you can make it through it.
Well, let's talk about the consequences. The consequences are this. He's 43 years old.
He ain't ever getting another one.
He won't ever get another shut.
Nope.
That's it.
And that's what I'm
You're
talking
done.
about.
You're done. Like you're
have to
not
think of those
done, but
things.
you're just not getting another shot. They're not going to remake this fight within a year. You're going to be 44, maybe 45 by the time you actually do. If they were to give it to you again, and that's it. It's it.
Well, and Bader already talked to Scott Coker about going back down to light heavyweight.
Yes.
And you look and you go, that's a realistic conversation. If you're Scott Coker saying, hey, well, no matter what, if you lose the light, I need you to fight as the light heavyweight champion. So we're just going to say, in your next fight, I want you to be light heavyweight. If you're going to defend that title, so he's already talking to him about coming down. So now the heavyweight title, it isn't going to change hands for a while.
No.
And
because down below at 205, he's got real tough fights at that weight class. You got Lyoto now.
Oh my God!
And then you've got Lovato.
I did the
Jr.
Lyoto Machida Ryan Bader first fight.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not saying it's going to be the same fight, but Lyoto knocked Ryan unconscious in that fight.
It poses a big threat. I think Lyoto poses a huge threat to Ryan Bader.
Yep.
And the other thing is that I don't understand why he would go down.
I don't either.
Just stay.
I just look and say, and it comes down to the whole thing of this is what everyone gets into this big. I want to be big. I want to be bigger, stronger. Fedor lived off of being fast. If you watch Bader's fast.
Yep. DC, same thing.
He's stiff in a lot of his movement, but at least now he used to lean. When he would throw his hands, he would lean instead of moving his feet.
Yeah.
Now his coaches have him. He's moving his feet as he's throwing, so he has balance, which creates more power, which puts him in a better position, and then he's got his wrestling on top of it. Man, at heavyweight, I don't care if you're bigger than him. He's got absolutely the technical talent in the wrestling game to put anybody on their butt, and he's got the power in his hands to hurt him.
Yeah, what I said yesterday was that when these guys go from 205 to heavyweight, they develop a little bit more power. DC was that way.
Yeah.
Also, too, when you have a guy who's a 205-pounder going to heavyweight, they're faster than the heavyweights. And if you get any of those guys from 205 to heavyweight that have any type of wrestling, you pretty much can dominate the heavyweight division. Because majority of the heavyweights
don't wrestle
in
well.
Combat sports are not athletic. Because if you were athletic, you'd be playing football, basketball, some other sport that makes real money. Okay, because let's be honest. Instead of getting
punched in the head.
Instead of getting punched in the head, like legit. That's just we're being 100% upfront about that. These guys like DC doesn't look like he's athletic, but can still at 41 years old can do a standing backflip. These are things that it just. And Bader's that guy too. Maybe not as athletic as DC when it comes to that portion of it, but he can still wrestle. He's still explosive, extremely fast, and now with the maturity and the confidence that he has, he's a different level of fighter right now.
Oh, he's completely different.
So those are the two. Those are the guys you brought up. Fedor, and I look at Fedor's DC is like the newer generation of what Fedor was, except Fedor had better submissions.
DC's a better wrestler than Fedor.
Wrestler, yep.
Fedor's a better submission guy.
And then Bader's a mixture of the two guys, just without the the long kind of the way they punch. It's funny how Fedor and DC kind of punch similar with that little loopy punches and things like that. Yeah. Ryan Bader has more of the straight punches and and the blast double, whereas DC was more of a finesse guy.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I'm excited. I would like to see him fight Minakov. That's why
what I would like to see.
I would like to see that fight, and everyone's going to say like, "Oh well, Minakov beat Kongo, and Minakov lost to Kongo, or beat him and then
Kongo.
Beat him and lost to him."
Say it both ways.
Say it both ways, but people need to understand Minakov was also had an infection. It was on antibiotics the week that he fought Czech Kongo. Just didn't pull out of the fight. It hurt his conditioning. So now, if they were to fight, I think Minakov when he fought Johnson, what was his name?
Tim Johnson.
Tim Johnson. Sorry, I want to say Tony every time, but Tim Johnson. When he fought Tim Johnson, he flung him around, threw him around. He looked very explosive. Looked back to the old Minakov that we know. That's a fight that I want to see.
I would love
both good wrestlers, both good strikers.
Yep.
Minakov is a true heavyweight.
True heavyweight.
Bader came in at I want to say
good
229.
Not quite as fast as Bader.